Hi everyone! I'm back with another video about, well, what I chose to keep and what I chose to sell. If you're looking to downsize your art supply collection, you can also get some ideas from my thoughts process, which I will summarize for you at the very end. For those who don't know what's going on, I recommend watching the following videos I've put up on screen here and linked below. Long story short, I held a de-stash sale recently and many of you have been curious to know what I chose to keep and why. People also wanted to know what I chose to sell and why, but I'll be honest, after knowing what I wanted to keep, everything else just becomes redundant. That said, I'll try my best to explain as we go along. So, I'll be going through the information in order of each group. Paints first, brushes, paper, and then everything else. Please note, this isn't an exhaustive list of things I kept and sold, just the prominent and noteworthy ones. Alright, let's jump right in, shall we? So for paints, I chose to keep a main palette, a special effects palette, and a ceramic palette. Because I don't paint very often, I don't go through paint that quickly. One main palette and tubes to refill is plenty for me. So I knew I had to have a main palette, which is this small one right here. Some of you may have seen my signature palette video of 12 colors, and I promised I'd do an extended version and basically my ultimate palette video, and this is what that is. It has a total of 24 colors. Currently, my posting schedule is all over the place, so I don't know if this video will have gone up before or after. Either way, I'll leave a link below to that. I like that the palette is plastic, which makes it lightweight. I could also put a travel brush inside or one of my crayons that I usually use. It also has 3 large mixing wells. Ideally, I want to have at least 5 mixing wells, but 3 will have to do. Because this is my personal ultimate palette, I also kept tubes of each corresponding color, so that's 24 tubes of paint. And then this ceramic palette, this one was one I had to keep. I honestly just love the circular wells. They feel so gentle on my brushes, much more than the angular corners of half pans. That, and also, this is basically my signature palette of 12 colors in a ceramic palette, so yay! Because I already have these 2 palettes, all the other palettes were made redundant, like the Paul Rubens set and my White Nights palette. I could easily repurchase Paul Rubens again if I wanted to, and for the White Nights, even though I customized it myself, it was easy for me to let go because I'm not a big fan of their watercolor tube formula anyway. The paints stay sticky even after unused for several months. And then, I kept my special effects palette, also known as my glitter metallic shimmer palette. Even though I haven't used this all that much, I did curate this myself and I wouldn't be able to repurchase such an item for the same price I paid for. So I think I made a video about this before, so I won't talk too much on it today. Now, because I already have this one, I put this superior set up for sale. It's the Star Series set. Check out my video on that if you're interested. My curated set has similar colors, so I didn't need this one. Turns out, this didn't get sold, so I guess I'm keeping it anyway. I also decided to keep this Sennelier palette because it was probably the last palette I Frankensteined before briefly stopping painting. I mean, I kept saying I would make a video on it, but still, I just haven't gotten around to it. At this point, I feel like it's been too long and I don't know, would anyone want to watch just a simple swatching video with music, but maybe no commentary? Anyway, yeah, I kept this one mainly because I love the palette itself and because I haven't taken it for a proper spin yet, so yeah. Everything else I owned, paint-wise, were put on sale and up for grabs. This meant full set palettes, customized palettes, tubes, orphaned pans of paint, They were all extra supplies that I will probably not get to for at least the next few years. Special sub-packaged sets like the Kusakabe Harmonia range were also put on sale. I find that after making a swatching video of them, I don't really go back to using them. And for the most part, I can mix my own version of these colors. And now for brushes. I'm not going to go through each one as I've talked pretty thoroughly about each brush back in my brush collection video, so please check that out for more information. I'll quickly go through this though. I kept several quills because I love my quills. Funnily enough, I don't care about the size number because every brand is different. When I want to buy a brush in my size, I tend to look for one that is closest to 5 millimeters in diameter and 20 millimeters in length. I'm going to lump in some of these round brushes too because the small quills are basically round brushes to me. Overall, I kept a few in each of the size groups: large, medium, small, tiny, and of differing materials. There's pure Kolinsky, synthetic Kolinsky, pure squirrel, synthetic squirrel, mixed sable, and mixed squirrel. All my other quills and round brushes were then put up for sale. Most notably, this extremely large quill mop brush. It's pure squirrel from Rosemary&Co. Honestly, it's too large. I'm never gonna paint anything that requires such a large brush, and even then, I think I could just use a large flat brush instead. Then there are special effects brushes that I kept, like the triangular brush and this rotary tree brush that I made a video on and was pretty popular. I decided not to keep special shaped brushes like the dagger, sword, cat's tongue brushes. I think they're just not for me. Did I enjoy them? Sure, but I feel like I have to really try to make it work, and it's just more suffocating than fulfilling. As for other brushes, I kept these triangular handle brushes. I love these because they're so ergonomic. Beautiful swirly handle brushes that I got complimentary from Rosemary&Co. They don't sell these, so obviously they're special. And I believe these are discontinued, so Rosemary&Co no longer sell these either, so I had to keep them. For travel brushes, I kept Rosemary's dagger brush because it's unique, not easily accessible. This pure squirrel brush because it's actually quite large, holds so much water, and for such a small size, I won't be able to get this with more affordable brands. And the Tintoretto quill because it's gold! And all the other ones were put up for sale. Large sizes went first because if I was traveling, I don't think I'd be painting big. The Fumli cat's tongue and flat brushes were nice, but honestly, they're a little too heavy for my liking. Moving on to paper products, I kept these 100% cotton paper blocks. And then I sold this Kadi sketchbook because it's 100% cotton paper and I already have the blocks. But also because this one is unused, still new, and fully wrapped, so there's no point in holding on to it. I kept this Sea White sketchbook because it's great for multimedia. Sold the Jackson's sketchbooks because these came in a set of 4, and I'm not going to go through them fast enough. Quick side note, if anyone likes Stillman and Burns Alpha series, I highly recommend these Sea White sketchbooks. They're much cheaper than the Alpha series, but in my opinion, the paper is almost identical. And now for some other items. I kept this set of Prismacolor pencils because they were a gift from a dear friend, and I sold this set of the 120 colors from Superior. Obviously, Prismacolor is extremely well formulated. I love how soft and pigmented they are. The Superior colored pencils, I've done a thorough review on these already, but long story short, they're basically a dupe of the Prismacolors. The formulation isn't as consistent, and I think they're slightly less pigmented. For fountain pens, I've been down the rabbit hole and back, so I know what I like to use and what I don't use. So I kept my Sailor Fude pen. And it's definitely a great gateway into fude pens in general. And I sold my Kaweco pens because I just feel like both of mine came with scratchy nibs that also run pretty dry. I've tried to troubleshoot them, but it was just time to let go. For fountain pen inks, I kept this waterproof Bauka ink and sold the R&K waterproof ink, as well as my diamine and sheening inks. The R&K one is indeed waterproof, but somehow it tends to dry up and clog my fountain pens. Yes, I'm aware I need to use it regularly. I know how to use pigmented ink, and this one just hasn't worked for me. The Bauka ink, however, I don't think I've seen anyone else use this. I do have a silent review on it if anyone wants a thorough review, but in a nutshell, it's basically like Platinum's Carbon Black, available to me, affordable, waterproof, and doesn't dry up or clog my pens, which I highly appreciate because I sometimes leave my pens unused for several weeks. For those looking to downsize or minimize their own art supply collection, I want to summarize a few points that may be useful in helping you do so. Number 1, things with the same function. I'm sure we could all agree we don't need 20 to 30 brushes of round brushes of the same size, or 10 full sets of colored pencils. Pick the ones that you'd realistically use and let the others go. Number 2, sentimental value. We all tend to keep things for memory's sake, but just be careful you're not using it as an excuse to keep every single thing. Number 3, limited edition or discontinued products. Don't get too hung up on the label. You can sell these for profit if you want. If you're not going to use it, or if you don't appreciate the value, just pass it along. Number 4, repurchasability. For this point, I want you to assess how easy it would be for you to repurchase the item in terms of the financial aspect and accessibility. For example, I sold this Paul Rubens watercolor set because I could easily repurchase this if I wanted to. And I held on to my Maya Mary blue dot chart because even if I had the money, it would be difficult to get my hands on again. Finally, number 5, the condition. Some things just aren't presentable enough to be sold. People might prefer to pay a little more for the new product instead. Letting go of something doesn't always have to be to sell it. You can always donate supplies to a local art center. Please keep in mind I did this video from a hobby watercolorist point of view because I'm not a professional artist. I'm sure professional artists need to have more supplies due to their craft. It's only understandable. Alright, so those are the main stuff I chose to keep compared to things I chose to let go. Again, this isn't a thorough list of everything I kept and sold. There were more supplies in my stash stored away in other boxes that I didn't get to. So automatically, they didn't even get considered to be kept or sold, like this set of sponges. If I had remembered that I had these, I would have definitely sold some of them. And there are also items that I put up for sale but weren't adopted by anyone, like empty palettes, color wheel palette, Van Gogh watercolors, and Ohuhu alcohol markers. I know most of you have been sad for me, but hopefully this video has been informative in letting you know that I still have plenty of supplies to use. I myself feel happier as well. I don't feel sad at all. In fact, I think I'm at a much happier place right now. Not only did I achieve my goal in converting supplies to cash, I still have plenty of supplies for at least several years. And I was able to connect with and pass on good condition supplies to other artists at reasonable prices. Well, that's pretty much it. I hope today's video has been useful in one way or another. As always, thank you so much for watching, everyone. Don't forget to drink lots of water and stay hydrated.